Rand, who do we have first? Hi, Monica. You can adjust that if you'd like.
You
There
do.
you go.
Well, I'm here to speak on two issues. The first one is the results of the lawsuit against banning biosludge, sewage sludge. I'm obviously disappointed in the outcome of that. I want to start by thanking you for protecting the health and safety of the citizens of Wheatfield, and I'm disappointed that my belief is that politics kind of won over this, because in reading everything, I think that we proved a good case saying that it did impact the health and safety, and unfortunately that didn't hold true in court. I was wondering what the next steps would be for the town.
Well, yes, you're correct. We recently got the decision from the Supreme Court in Albany, where the case was handled, and it did not go in favor of the town. The Article 78 to make that determination to throw it out. The court did not go our way. The next step that's available to us is, if we do not believe that the decision of that court in Albany is correct, is to appeal that, and that's something where we have 30 days to decide. So that's something that the board is going to determine if it's worth the expense of trying to appeal. Problem with an Article 78. An Article 78 is a proceeding to challenge a decision or determination made by a New York State governmental entity. In this case, the Department of Ag and Markets, where they said that our law restricting the application of biosolids in the town of Wheatfield was too restrictive in agricultural districts. And it applied to, in this case, there was a complaint by Millville Farms, and it applied to their property that was in their appeal. And so basically, without an appeal, they could apply. I have not heard any indication that they're going to, but the precedent set is that they could apply these biosolids, as they call them, to the particular property. So we have to determine if we're going to go forward with an appeal at this point. Probably an appeal would be an uphill battle. An Article 78 is uphill always, because us, in this case, we would had to have proved that the Department of Ag and Markets and its commissioner acted in an arbitrary and capricious standard, which is a difficult standard. It's sort of that they acted in some way that was not supported by any type of reasonable proof. And basically the decision said from the court that, well, they had some proof, so therefore, because they had some proof, they were within their rights to make that decision. And the court says, we're not going to remake their decision. They had enough information to do it. We don't agree. We had a lot of information, a lot of research that said, specifically in the town of Wheatfield, based on our soil conditions, it is not appropriate at all in the high clay content. But they had their own scientific information, and they say the court chose to believe it, so we're not going to, or the Ag and Markets chose to believe that, so they're not going to substitute their judgment for the other. But our next step is an appeal if the board deems necessary.
Well, I would like to push for the appeal, obviously, but I don't hold the purse strings, so I understand your predicament. But obviously, I'd like to put the health and safety of the citizens first and foremost, as I know that you would like to. The second thing I'd just like to talk about, I know you're talking about bidding for recycling and for waste management, and I would like to implore you to think differently about how we do it in Wheatfield. Perhaps we could think about doing recycling every week and garbage bi-weekly, and try to promote more recycling. If we're leaving this world to our kids, the way we're doing it now is not going to be a very good world, and that is something that we can control. And so maybe we could think about doing things a little bit differently and starting a trend. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Hi, Julie. Can you hear me all right? Can you turn it down?
Hi, good evening. I too am disappointed to hear about the loss of our lawsuit, but I do appreciate all that's been done by this board to fight it. I do have a couple questions. One is, if we decide not to appeal the decision, which you've stated is an uphill battle, would we want to amend our law? For example, in Pendleton, their law doesn't absolutely restrict the use of biosolids. It puts buffer zones, so it has to be, say, I don't have their law memorized, but say, for example, 500 feet from a property line, maybe 1,000 feet from a creek. So, and their law has not been challenged. So I'm wondering if that can be something that we can think about in terms of amending our law, again, to protect us. The second thing I wanted to bring up is the way that our law is written. If Quasar changed their process, any part of it, they were supposed to approach the board. They weren't going to go to the planning board. That was specifically designed to keep them on task. They publicly said that they switched to Class A. There wasn't any particular testing done. So I think that another way to protect ourselves is to hold them accountable. My understanding, and I didn't have any documentation, was that Quasar has changed hands. It's a new company, and that they said that they weren't going to use any biosolids, but that was before this decision. So if biosolids end up being part of the mix again, I think we need to hold them accountable and make sure that they're producing what they said they're going to produce. And if they change it, then they need to come before you like our law says. So please comment on that. And then the last question I had is, I see the bike path is back on. There's a motion for that tonight. What is the goal of that in terms of who pays for it? I remember at a meeting a while ago, Larry, you said the DOT was taking over the expense, but then that wasn't exactly the case. So that's my second question.
Just
Okay.
and if I can give you a little brief, though, that we are working in conjunction with the City of North Tonawanda, Niagara Falls, and the town of Wheatfield to complete the Greenway. And we are co-sponsored with Niagara Falls and the City of North Tonawanda in the intermunicipal agreement. And the monies will be handled by DOT and some investors to complete the project. It won't cost us, well, I said it won't cost us anything, but as it is right now, it's not going to cost us anything.
So we're getting funding elsewhere.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then what are your thoughts about, just preliminarily, about making sure that we hold that digester accountable to our current law, or amending our law to add buffer zones to make it more reasonable?
I think it's a possibility. It's something we'll have to look into, Julie. It's something I can look over our law and talk with Matt and the town board members, and if necessary, we can make some adjustments.
Okay. And I believe that the law that Pendleton used was emulated from a law in central New York to like toward Albany, that's been on the books since the late 60s, early 70s. And I can get that for you if you come down to that.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Good evening. Got a facility for our air base, but before I do that, I'd like to just clear up questions that I've had over the last couple of weeks. This was an article in the Buffalo paper about the big fiber optics coming across Ontario. I get a lot of calls that, boy, we're getting internet. This is not internet. This is a fight. This is scary internet. It does private. Company out of Canada is laying fiber from Toronto to downtown Buffalo. The two major regional hubs. They also have plans to spurn off from Rockford and possibly heading over to Elgin and onward to the Rochester. It's a giant trunk fiber. You don't know about that big? It's like 96 pairs, placed 196 fibers, and carries umpteen million communications. I'm working with that company. They are not an internet service provider. They ran the pipe. It's like building an office building and not being a tenant. They ran it out. They leased it out. out. Good news, they are not going to the wreck. Bad news, the bill is calling for small case clothing without sale. Don't know what that means. Try to find out what the definition of a small case is. That so many revelations, we have more than one. We have the biggest one. So many flying issues, well, we have the one, but we have the RPA. So it's still a little bit of definition. I'm gonna watch it. Just came out, but they are not gonna call for a wrap. So we don't know what the exposure is. I think it's still in good shape by all the issues we have on the base, with the 5 filter units on that base. So I'm comfortable, but watchful of what the system is.
Keep us posted, Dave. Appreciate it. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
This is that map, by the way, it's coming down Route 270, Campbell Boulevard, down around UV, right down to downtown Buffalo. Really just stay away from these two. Right down Campbell Boulevard.
Thanks, Dave. Still too quiet? Yeah, turn it up a little, would you, Larry? Just a touch. Anybody hear me? Better? Okay, thank you. For the record, all board members are present. A motion to approve the minutes of July 2nd, 2018, please.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes carried. Approved. Bill payment of August 6, 2018, voucher number 20181454 through 20181542, for a total amount of $152,846.28. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Yes.
There was an internal cockpit having a representative in, there's a billing that was $3,000. It said new business, infrastructure. I've seen these bills before. I know we pay new engineering every year, but I didn't know if this was an additional charge. I don't know. I don't know if Sandy Roberts is mentioning that we were paying for an inductor. I'd like to know a little bit more about that.
Well, Debbie, as you know, is on vacation this week. Why don't we approve the bills and we'll hold the check until we find out what it's for?
Okay. Yeah, the bills are new business.
And have a motion? Okay, second? We do? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Bill payment for July 23rd, 2018, voucher 201-81314 through 201-81448, for the total amount of $660,298.84. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Department heads, Paul Siegman. How you doing tonight, Paul?
Good.
Good.
Just a quick rundown. So far this year, besides the chipping and the patching and the pipe replacements, we've oil and stoned, which is a road treatment, Corey Drive, Went Drive, Forest Parkway. So far we've paved Kruger Road, Wilrose, part of Crescent, Nicky's Lane, Plaza, Sawyer, and the little intersection over there too. Got a little bit of that. We do have a couple more roads yet to pave. I would like to say, anybody that has a tree cut down or cuts down a tree, if you need a backhoe or a payloader to move the stump, please don't put it out to the road. Have somebody grind the stump down. We go around and we do pick up stumps, stuff that a guy can pick up and throw in the back of a truck. We've seen stumps dragged out to the road that barely fit in the back of a tandem dump truck. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. It's $200 a ton to get rid of that stuff. So if you're having a tree taken down, you're cutting it down, have the stump ground if it's gonna be that big of one, please. And that's about it. Any questions? I have Millville, Brent Drive, and I'm hoping to get something done with Hurd. Okay?
Hey, Paul, I just want to say, nice job on Kruger Road and the striping. I've had many calls, people complimenting on the job that you did. Thank you.
And actually, Plaza Drive will be striped, and I believe so will Sawyer. It's just that we paved them after the striping was done, so the third round of striping that the county comes out with, we'll do it then.
Looks great though, Paul. Thank you. Rich Donner, Water Superintendent.
Glad to see the water fund was at least one that was looking good. We've got something straightened around there, but we've been quite busy. 6 leaks in a matter of a week and a half. Water leaks that we fixed due to the dry weather. The ground's moving around, and it's kept my guys kind of busy. We've had a few different issues with sewer backups lately, and I'd like to thank Paul for getting one of his guys to move our dozer for us, because we needed a dozer to get back through a field to get to a couple manholes, and without that we would have been out of luck. So other than that, we just keep plugging away at it. Anybody sees any water in any place where it shouldn't be, or when it's dry like this, if they see water running into catch basins, please give my office a call. We'll come out and check it out and see if there's something that can be done, because a few of these water leaks we've had have not made it to the surface. They're either getting into sewer trenches or in the catch basins and staying under. The leak itself isn't popping to the surface, so it becomes quite an issue to try and find them. That's all I have.
Thank you, Richie. Nice job. Mike Clark, our building inspector. Evening, Mike.
Evening. Evening, gentlemen, ladies. First of the month, in your mailbox should have the updated permits for the month, complaints, and our fire inspections. If you have no questions on that, that's it for today.
Actually, things have been pretty busy, haven't they?
We're hopping.
Yeah, that's great.
Been a good summer.
Yeah, that's good.
Anything else, gentlemen?
No. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Bridget, come on down.
Good evening. At the end of May, the Board of Assessment met for Grievance Day. We had one hearing, and as of July 31st, the time has passed for that person to complain about the reduction that they got, because it wasn't what they asked for. So we're clear. Matt, I got nothing for you. None. None.
Well, that's good news.
It is good news. We got next year.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it?
At this time.
Thank you, Bridget.
You're welcome.
Arlene Manti. That's the polar bear dive in Alcott, you said? That's not too bad. Okay, good. Anything else, Alan? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Jim Zuber, Wendell Engineers.
Thank you. We have only one thing for you this evening, and that's our planning board report. Similar to the town board, the planning board has had one meeting a month during the summer months of July and August. So I really only have one summary for you, and that is for our July meeting. The first item on that agenda was a public hearing for the Borrego solar systems. The applicant proposes to construct a 6.3 megawatt ground-mounted utility-scale solar energy system at 2469 Lockport Road. The system would generate and transmit power to the power grid. An estimated $1.2 million worth of improvements to National Grid substation will be required for the project, and that will be paid for by the applicant. The solar panels will be located in the middle of the 72.25 acre property and will be split with approximately 13.7 acres of panels on the north side of the NYSEG and Niagara Mohawk right-of-ways, and approximately 16.5 acres of panels on the south side. Approximately 42% of the parcel will be covered with the solar panels, which will follow the sun's path, which means they'll rotate to maximize efficiency. It was noted that a variance requested by the applicant has been granted by the ZBA. A public hearing was held and was attended by many residents wishing to voice their opinions and ask questions about the project. The allotted time for the public hearing expired, but there were still several people that had not had a chance to speak about the project. As a result, the planning board tabled the public hearing and motioned to continue with the hearing at the next planning board meeting, which is set for this Wednesday, August 8th at 6:40 p.m. No other action was taken. The next item was a sketch plan for the Bunny Bunch Daycare. The applicant proposes to construct a 4,000 square foot addition to the existing daycare at 7334 Town Line Road. The applicant was advised to visit the town's website to review the site plan application and guideline materials. The applicant was also advised of several items to include on their future site plan submittal, including verification of available parking at the parcel per the town code, and coordination of a new water service for the town water sewer department and the Niagara County Health Department. No action was taken. The last item on the agenda was a site plan for National Vacuum Corporate Headquarters. The applicant proposes to construct a 100 foot by 200 foot single-story building and associated parking and landscaping at 6393 Endicott Drive. That's basically at the southern end of the industrial park. The parcel is zoned industrial M1 and is in the Airport Zone 1 overlay district. The inside of the building will include an office area, shop area, and warehouse staging area, while an exterior staging area and equipment storage area will be located behind the building. The applicant was advised of several items that remain to be addressed, including a review of the town's industrial performance standards, stormwater management, grading and drainage, threatened and endangered species, and coordination with the FAA, NFTA, and the airbase. No action was taken on that site plan. And that is a summary of the July meetings. Any questions?
I have a question. I got a phone call this morning, of course, about the solar farm. They're not changing the zoning. I tried to explain this to the person. They're going for a special use permit, correct?
Correct. For a utility scale system, they have to get a special use permit.
Right. That's what I tried to explain, because they were asking me about back taxes if they get out of the ag district and all that. I guess my question is, special use permit, is that typically is 2 years, or is this going to be like a 20-year or 30-year special use permit?
I'm not aware that there is any time frame on this special use permit as it's written in the
I think
in the solar
there
code.
could be, maybe not a little confusion, but there's a temporary special permit.
So this would be forever?
This would be as long as that would be on the property, yes.
Okay.
We do have temporary ones like for horses and stuff like that, but this didn't have any temporary components.
The zoning law has specific uses under special permit which would be permanent, but certain things that are
Okay.
Thank you, Tim. Matt Brooks, our attorney, with motions.
Thank you. Several motions tonight. First one is from Building Inspection, the town supervisor, town attorney. Whereas Louis Anastasio has been a part-time employee with the town of Wheatfield since April 2017 in the Building Inspection Department. And whereas Louis Anastasia has been made full-time employee effective July 2nd, 2018. And whereas throughout his over 1 year of employment with the town of Wheatfield, Lou Anastasia has been an effective employee within the building inspection department and successfully has completed more than 180 days of service with the town. Now therefore be it resolved that the probationary period of 180 days, which would normally take effect on July 2nd, 2018, for Louis Anastasia is hereby waived due to his past service for the town and exceptional past performance.
A motion, please? I'll second it. A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from the Highway Department to authorize the declaration of surplus property of the following items: a 1970 Galleon Grader Model T500, a 1987 GMC one-ton truck, and a 1995 Ford one-ton truck with liftgate, and to authorize the Highway Department to place said items on Auctions International for sale as they are surplus. Thereafter, upon receipt of bids for said surplus items, the Highway Department will be required to request authorization from this town board to accept said bids if appropriate.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from the Recreation Department to authorize current employee Ed McIver to become compensated for his leadership role in the Recreation Department and placed in part-time grade 3 with a starting rate of pay of $12.59 per hour. This pay classification change is due to the fact that Ed McIver has been increased duties to lead teams of employees, which is a leadership role in the Recreation Department.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from the Town Supervisor and Town Board to authorize and direct the Town of Wheatfield Planning Board to schedule and conduct additional meetings as necessary during the summer months in order to accommodate the volume of Planning Board applications which cyclically arise in the summer, while also not exceeding the Planning Board's administrative rule of a maximum of 4 applications per meeting. This resolution authorizes and directs the Chairman of the Town of Wheatfield Planning Board to schedule as many needed additional meetings per month in order to accommodate the volume of applicants and prevents an applicant from having to wait an excessive period of time in excess of 1 month in order for their matters to be heard and reviewed by the Planning Board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Just as a brief point on that motion, we've had a backlog of people coming into the town with businesses, and Mike's aware of this, and Tim's aware of this, and it's getting to the point now with this one meeting a month, it's holding people from coming into the town. So we decided to come up with a directive to go back to the 2 meetings a month, or whatever it takes to address the workload at this time. Thank you. Go ahead.
Next motion from Town Board and the Town Comprehensive Planning Implementation Task Force. Whereas the Town Comprehensive Planning Implementation Task Force has indicated the need for services of a secretary who is not a group member to take minutes at the Town Comprehensive Planning Implementation Task Force meetings and to do other administrative work for the Town Comprehensive Planning Implementation Task Force, and whereas currently a Town Comprehensive Planning Implementation Task Force member is the group secretary, this detracts from the member's participation at meetings, as the secretary is busy taking minutes and doing administrative work, while said individual's attention should rather be on the meeting's business. And whereas the town seeks to remove that duty from the Town Comprehensive Planning Implementation Task Force member and assign that duty to town employee Mary Beth Long to be paid for said duties at her current hourly wage with any necessary overtime expense. Now therefore be it resolved that the town employee Mary Beth Long be assigned the duty of Town Comprehensive Planning Implementation Task Force Secretary, a non-Town Comprehensive Planning Implementation Task Force member position, to be paid for said extra duties at her current hourly wage with any necessary overtime expense, and any Town Comprehensive Planning Implementation Task Force member previously serving as secretary shall be relieved of said duties.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from Water and Sewer Department to authorize the posting for the hiring of a laborer position in the Water and Sewer Department in lieu of a vacant truck driver position currently existing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from the Town Supervisor, Town Board, and Town Attorney. Whereas the Niagara River Greenway Trail has been a project that has been discussed within the Town of Wheatfield for several years, and whereas a final plan in this matter has not come to complete fruition due to numerous issues, including cooperation with other local municipalities, funding, and design, and whereas the Niagara River Greenway Trail is a project of regional significance connecting existing trails within the city of Niagara Falls and the city of North Tonawanda, and thereafter throughout the waterfront communities of all western New York and the state of New York, and whereas the city of North Tonawanda, city of Niagara Falls, and the town of Wheatfield have come to a mutually beneficial understanding and prepared an intermunicipal agreement regarding working together towards the final funding, design, and construction of the remaining necessary section of the Greenway Trail through the town of Wheatfield. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Wheatfield approves the intermunicipal agreement with the city of North Tonawanda and the city of Niagara Falls regarding applying for funding and the design and construction of the connecting Greenway Trail between said cities and through the town of Wheatfield.
Motion?
I'll make the motion.
A second, please. A second. A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Yes. Yeah, they're actually looking at, with the 7-foot buffer and trees, reducing it, trying to make it a parkway. So it will enhance the trail all the way through. And along with what Larry's saying, we've had a piece of, I think it's 4.3 acres, Bridget, or something close to that, which has been the town of Wheatfield on the river for years, and it's been a dump. And the town board has looked at making that part of the Greenway Trail, which will be right on the river, so people can have, I know Niagara Wheatfield School wants to get involved in having walking trails and walking paths, so that also will be tied into the Greenway Trail. So the whole thing, it's a really great thing to have going through Wheatfield.
Essentially, at Whitmer Road and River Road, where Grantwood Park is, there's a traffic light there. They have a pedestrian crossing right there, hash marks across the pavement. So you would cross River Road to get on the north side of River Road at Whitmer, stay on the north side of River Road and hit Williams Road, which again, there's lighting there with pedestrian crossings, buttons to push if you want to cross the road and things, and then that would take you to Griffin Park, which is in Niagara Falls. So it would basically, we're the missing link.
Right.
And Niagara Falls, a little piece of the missing link, but that'll basically complete the trail from Youngstown to Buffalo.
Right.
And I think Ralph C. Wilson Foundation is going to try to get some credit for finishing this project for us. They deserve a lot of credit for picking up about $1 million worth of expenses.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Okay, we had a motion?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and we have a second? We did. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from GHD Engineers and the Town Board. Whereas GHD Engineers, on behalf of the Town of Wheatfield, has inspected the public improvements constructed under a PIP for the Eagle Chase subdivision Phase 2 and deemed the pavement, curbs, storm drainage, sanitary sewer, and water line facilities have been completed with reasonable conformance with the Town of Wheatfield standard specifications and approved construction plans. And whereas GHD, per GHD's letter recommending the acceptance of the public improvements, all requirements of the SPDES general permit for stormwater discharge for construction activity must be complied with during the construction of the individual home sites. And whereas the performance guarantee in the form of a maintenance bond is accepted by the town attorney and will remain in effect until August 6, 2020, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the Town of Wheatfield accepts the completed PIP improvements, including pavement and curbs, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, water lines, public utility easements, drainage easements, roadway dedication, and maintenance bond for Eagle Chase Subdivision Phase 2 with the following conditions. Number 1, all outstanding right-of-way dedication paperwork must be reviewed and found acceptable by the town engineer and the town attorney. The developer and their attorney will be responsible for filing the right-of-way dedication and must provide the town attorney with a filed copy of the documents prior to the issuance of any building permits on Phase 2 lots. Number 2, 2 copies of the required maintenance bond are to be submitted to the town attorney for final review and acceptance, and I'll note that that has been provided and accepted. And number 3, all requirements of the SPDES general permit for stormwater discharges for construction activity must be complied with during the construction of the individual home sites.
So moved.
Second. Motion and, yes,
Larry, I'll note, I did speak to Dave Britton. He did tell me he was unable to make it tonight due to a prior commitment, so he did let me know, at least I know you'd prefer to have him here, but he did let me know he was tied up someplace else, and that's why he couldn't make it.
I believe we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next, motion from the Wheatfield Local Development Corporation. Whereas the town board wishes to assess the advisability of submitting a community development block grant application to the New York State Office of Community Renewal for a grant to support the construction of new facilities for Pelicanos Marketplace at 3328 through 3338 Niagara Falls Boulevard in the town. And whereas the town is required to hold a public hearing to provide information to the public and to consider citizen comments regarding community needs and the planned proposal prior to submitting an application for CDBG funding, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby calls for a public hearing whereat all interested parties shall be heard regarding the CDBG program, the town's community development, and Economic Development Programs and the proposed funding application. Said public hearing is to be held at the Wheatfield Town Hall, 2800 Church Road, Wheatfield, New York, 14120, on the blank, at the blank time, on the blank day of blank 2018. And I would note, the board would have to schedule that prior to September 9th, which I think is the deadline, so we need to do it before then.
You want to set that date tonight, then, so
We probably should set it tonight, for the public hearing, but, so,
by September 9th?
yeah, before, when is our first meeting?
September 10th, so we better know what, we have to schedule it before then?
Is our next meeting September 10th? All right, so it would have to be before then.
Hey, do you want to just have a, let's say, the 20th of August? I mean, it's going to be a short, it'll be a brief meeting. You want to do it the 20th and just have a public hearing for that? You guys pick a date. Give you enough time? Would you rather make it the 27th? Is that better for you, Kathy?
I won't be able to make it the 27th.
I won't either, so we'll have to make it the 20th is good? Okay, the 20th at, I don't think so. I think we can just do the, we'll do the public hearing, say 6:30. Is that okay with you guys?
As long as Kathy has enough time to get it to notice for the... At 6:30?
Second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And that's all the motions I have this evening.
Thank you. Board members, Larry Hellwick.
Our new phone system is in, and any departments that still have their old phones, they're not usable anymore. Don Wallace is collecting those old phones. As soon as we get them all packaged up and get the models and everything sorted out, we've got different makes. We've got Avaya, we've got Meridians, we've got Lucents, we've got about 4 or 5 different manufacturers. Once we get all those together, we're going to try to sell that lot. There's some companies out there that will buy used equipment, so we'll get a little bit of money for that. It's been a dry summer. I would like to thank the garden club. You go by the town signs at the entrances of town Wheatfield, and the garden club's been watering. I see these ladies out there watering in the hot summer, and our flowers are still living. They're not dead yet, so they're doing a good job. The last thing is our sales, 2 things. The sales tax, I guess, is up about $73,000, which is pretty good. But kind of leading into that too is Doris, Don G, and myself, we turned in the census updates. We worked 120 days, and that's all the federal government gave us was 120 days. And on July 14th, we turned all of our updates, and we were beating the bushes with the building department, the assessor's office, and trying to make sure that, even the Board of Elections, making sure if somebody was voting out of a house, that we didn't have a house number with federal, we added a lot of address points. So hopefully all those address points are going to turn into higher population, more tax dollars in 2020. So I think that project ended well. They accepted our updates, and over the next year, we don't know if this will happen next month or the following month. Over the next year, they may have questions for us, and they need to actually take John and Doris to do a little bit more homework. But so far they've accepted everything we've turned in. I've not had any emails from them on the contact point for that, so I guess that's all good that we haven't heard anything. No news is good news. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Larry, and Doris. Nice job. I appreciate it. Bill Brissett.
have some correspondence from Adams Fire Hall. They'd like to add Joel Conkey to their roster, and I'll make that motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carried.
I also have some information from Burkles. They'd like to add Thomas Perry, Steve Harris, and Rachel Hamilton, and I'll make that motion also.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
And
Motion
that's it.
carried. Kurt Doctor.
Yes, a couple of things tonight. So on the evaluation of LED streetlights in Wheatfield, that is active. A couple of things. Number one, setting up some samples on the town hall campus is something that we're working on currently. So hopefully, by the time it starts getting dark a little bit earlier at night, we'll have some samples for everybody to come and take a look at. Also, since the article was in the paper from the comments made at the board meeting last time, I've had 2 or 3 vendors reach out to me, even one that offers solar streetlights. So we're going to be taking a look at that as well. So we're definitely in the phase right now where we're just doing the research, seeing what makes sense for us, and potentially trying to even get a solar sample set up here. So look for that in the future. The other thing, we did have a motion earlier to get a secretary for the comprehensive plan task force, so definitely appreciate the approval there. It really allows a lot of the dedicated volunteers that we have in the town to really concentrate on what they do best, which is to make Wheatfield a better place to live. So I think that'll really be helpful.
Thanks, Kurt. Kurt, just a question on the LED lighting. I know there was other municipalities that were interested in combining with Wheatfield. Is that how do we stand there?
Yeah, they're still trying to get more interested, working together with Joe at NIFA
Okay.
to kind of, hopefully partner with him to get others interested, because the more towns we get, potentially the bigger quantities we have and the lower cost. So that is something that, could benefit not only the town but the entire county.
How many towns do we have on board now? Do you know offhand?
I know that there's 5 that we know for sure that are interested, but there's several others that are, on the fence.
Great. Okay, I appreciate it. Yes.
Kurt, about a year or so ago, there was maybe it was in the Buffalo News on solar lights. There's I don't know whether it was Lancaster or West Seneca. Somebody had solar streetlights, and I think they had complaints about them because the batteries, in the winter months, you don't get enough sun.
Right.
And there was a lot of articles in the Buffalo News about, they had solar lights, but their streets were dark.
Yeah. So
that
is something we've got
to mention that so that you.
So BDL Lighting is the name of the company that approached me about that, and I'm asking very tough questions of these guys, and they didn't commit to that happening, and I pretty much said that's a requirement, and they said, there are a lot of improvements that are coming, not like every decade, but every year when it comes to the batteries. So by the time we move forward here, and maybe there even is something that's available now. So we're just trying to evaluate everything.
Yeah. I was told too by a competitor, of course, that you won't get the same intensity of lighting out of the solars that you would with the LEDs. So again, thank you, Kurt.
Absolutely.
Randy Retzloff.
Well, I mentioned to Don that going to East Aurora, they got a sign right on the speed limit sign. It says, and it's solar powered. I'll take some pictures and email it. Paul, have you ever seen them? And it flashes if you're going over 30. It has a white light and it flashes, and then when you go down to 30, it stops. And I'm going to see if we can somehow get a grant rather than pulling our trailer around all the time. But I'm really intrigued by this little sign. It bolts right to the punch tube underneath the 30-mile-an-hour sign. So I'll stop tomorrow, take a picture, we'll get it to Bernie.
Great idea.
The other thing that I got to ask is, now we're talking about Pelicanos. The Thunder Brewery, the sportsplex over at the mall, is there anything happening, and how is Jacob's Ladder doing with paying back the loan? Those are my 3 questions. If anybody can answer anything on those 3.
they're actually expanding. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I don't believe so.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. I was going to thank the Garden Club because I've noticed what a great job they've done. As a matter of fact, I called, I think it's Julie's mother, and to tell her that I appreciate, you know, a lot of people drive around town and don't look at these flowers, but we have them here at the community center and entering the town, and they do a heck of a job. And all this heat, and they're out there watering and planting and fixing up. They don't get enough credit. They do a heck of a job. So I had to add to it, Larry, because I do notice. Also, I mentioned about Paul doing a great job on Kruger Road, and on behalf of I'm going to send a letter out to the sheriff tomorrow to thank them for the 2016 police interceptor that we received from the county as a surplus vehicle. It was well needed, and if anybody wants to bid on our, was it a 2004 Ford Victoria that's out there? It's got a little rust on it, but it's a great deal on one. So that's it. Yes, Paul, you want it? On that one? Yes, probably. But we have to be honest about it. So, yeah, it's going to go on Auctions International. Sure. But you know, Paul, if you're looking for a new vehicle, I can fix you right up. No? No takers, huh? Somebody said, well, let's make it the supervisor's car. And I said, no, I don't need a car. All right, thank you. That's all I have. Next meeting is September 10th, 2018 at 7 o'clock. And any more public input on anything we've discussed tonight? Come on down, Julie.
Regarding the bike path, I know that you said we got a grant, and that we had to shell out the money first before we could be reimbursed. My understanding is for the design work that we originally bonded $346,000 to get the design going. Then we had to spend a little more because it became more extensive. Have we been reimbursed from that, and then has the bond been paid off? From the grant? Okay. From the grant. Okay, so did we, we were awarded the grant, but we haven't received the money yet. Is that? Okay, so then did that money then go toward paying off the money we bonded to pay for the design? No, but we borrowed the money in the form of a bond of $346,000. Okay, I thought it said that in a minute. Okay. Okay. All right, well, thank you. So then we'll be reimbursed when the funds are released. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Anyone else?
You didn't bring it up, but I'd like to...
Come on down. And your name, sir?
I'm George Brooks. I live on Whitmer Road.
Okay.
And the reason I'm here right now, I'm a little disappointed. I sent a letter to the council. We sent it last October. Never got a response back. There was a neighbor behind me who was building a nice project. He did tremendous landscaping, and he was obviously there's not a real plan for drainage when he did his. Because right now this summer we talked about dryness. I have not been able to mow a section of my yard all summer. Now I did talk to Paul. He's in here. He went over and he saw my yard. The neighbor has a nice project. It's just there's no drainage, internal drainage from his yard. He raised it up, and it all slopes right onto my yard. And I stopped in before last September when I saw the project going on. I said, is there any plan to do the drainage? Because I know we always had a little, after a storm, there's a drainage stuck in there. This puddle stayed 1 or 2 days, drained away, and I could mow it. I've lived there 17 years. And what I will have to say is This town has been great. I've always bragged about it. Anytime I had a problem with anything, I said, Paul came out a couple times when I had a land subsidence in the front, took care of it. This town has been great to me, but the permit program, I wrote my letter not trying to get anything, just trying to say, you've got to address drainage when somebody builds a project next to a neighbor. And I heard you talking about some contractor here. They made sure he did have a drainage on his. But when you do a private project, this guy put concrete, lots of concrete, beautiful job. I mean, he ought to be very proud of his job, except he didn't take care of his neighbors when he built his project. Now, I'm in the process of putting my own drainage system in. I'm correcting it. And the only reason I'm here is so that you could have the permit people address that for the next person. You know, I shouldn't be the only one. This can't be the first time it happened, but it should be addressed by your town. And I really felt bad that I wrote a letter. I didn't even want to come in, but I wrote a letter and got one to the council and one to the supervisor, which wasn't you at that time, last October, and got nothing back. I said, gee, when I worked for the Army Corps, when somebody sent a letter to us, we always responded, even if we said, we don't agree with you. That'd be okay. But at least we responded. Anyhow, I was disappointed I didn't get nothing back. But thank you.
Thank you. And I just would say that there has been many changes made in the last few years related to drainage. And even tonight, there's a lot more reviews. There's inspections, final inspections, checking drainage, topsoil to make sure that the grading between lots is done correctly. So things have changed and have improved. I'm sorry? Yeah, Paul, have you looked at this?
It's a matter of, I think when the state submitted the plans for the pool, there was no yard limit to the amount of concrete. And I mean, I don't know, is there a minimum amount of green space you have for every yard?
There's a distance from property line.
No, a minimum amount of green space. You take the whole yard and make a building concrete?
Yeah, I don't believe there is. I mean, there's a certain amount of open space in property. But if somebody puts a pool in their backyard and they have concrete around it, as long as they meet the minimum distance from an accessory structure to the property line, they're okay.
They're supposed to maintain like flow and drainage, but
Yeah.
I think green space typically is not influenced by concrete. I mean, if you keep putting up buildings, they would limit, but concrete is not necessarily concrete taking away from concrete.
Right.
I know it's good, they have a minimum amount of the yard, has to be kept yard, not.
I know in Amherst there's X amount of percent of your parcel has to remain green.
Yeah, Wheatfield has a regulation where you're limited to the amount of structures that would take up a percentage of area on the property. But I don't believe it's related to green space. I think Have you talked, I mean, it sounds like it's too late now. Did you talk with the building department at the time?
Yes, I did.
And what did they say?
They pretty much told me that, and that was in my letter to last October when I sent it. So I went to them, talked to them, and they pretty much told me, keep the law, even what you're doing, it'll be taken care of at the end of the term. There will not be a problem. And I was really comfortable. And I went to Paul at that time, in his office, and said, you guys are going to check that in. I said, here's how much money. And you stuck this collection of permit if it wasn't business property, what the guy has to come with a fresh proof, you stuck this whatever you stuck. And that's my whole point was to try to get that permit process collected to the next person.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, shouldn't that person's surface water be contained by him? I know in Grand Island, we built the Walgreens. We had to put a French drain on a property line to catch our water so it didn't run to the neighbor.
Well,
I mean, isn't, Tim, you're responsible for your own surface water.
years ago, we did put in a drain line that ran across the back of the property. So there is a drain line in there, it drains both houses and the both. But where the problem lies is, I don't know what's in the permit. I don't even know.
No, I'm not pointing at you. I'm just
I'm
saying.
just saying, when you look at this plan, this guy took his backyard, turned it into concrete, when you get a rainstorm, it's all coming to him.
Yeah.
It should.
There is a drain pipe
should.
there, there is a drain line there, but it's, obviously, his backyard's not supposed to come into any water.
Sure.
Everything that he's up.
But even so, Paulie, if the whole backyard is concrete, there should be provisions at the property line. And I'm not pointing at you, where that does go to a grading source, or a drainage source, to get it off the property instead of onto the neighbor. Oh, we've had it all over.
Well, yeah, that was an issue with
Yeah. I'm sorry that happened. It doesn't sound like there's anything that can be done now. If you want to check with me and go to the building department, but it sounds like it's too late. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it.
I'm sitting in my own frustration.
Okay.
My neighbor on the side of me is doing the same thing.
Okay.
Because his property gets really well. And when they do it, like I made a lower when I have to come in there.
Yeah.
Right in the ground, I have standing water. It's right in front, there's all, it's not gonna hold up that, it's 8, 10 feet. But it's not gonna number. But again, wherever you put a permit out, like you guys talked about, as long as it takes care of the whole property, you have to put it in somebody else. I was down before, we never had a project going out, but you kept getting standing pond and something else to take care of.
It should be part of the final inspection. I don't know. I wasn't here then.
Paul doesn't do stuff, but when I talk to Paul, he's engaged every time we turn the team over. And basically, one department, I usually hear Paul comes to the town, they can say, great, then he a permit for it,
Yeah.
I just think it's a great time.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay, so I took this up regarding the grant. I took this up in the paper on Friday, August 7th, 2015, in the Tribune. It said, Phase 1 Guns Way, Wheatfield Town Board voting recently set out $350,000 for a 5-year bond to pay for the design of the entire trail and communication space plan. The board also voted to pay $346,635 to the town engineering firm, vendor, and engineer, for that design, just for our communication space plan. So that's a rooftop bond, isn't it?
So when authorization for the town board to issue a bond, that bond has not yet been issued, because once they issue the bond, still the project is on there, still has to be approved, and we know the local share, then we will issue the bond. And we will issue the bond only for the town's global share, not the entire cost of the project. Only the 20%. The project is basically funded 8% state federal grant, the state grant, and 20% local. We would only issue a bond for the local share, not for the entire cost of the project. Correct.
Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you. Thanks for attending.